Hey, I'm Brandon.
And I'm Dimari.
And we're Side by Side. On behalf of Side by Side, just a quick note before the show begins. We created this platform for people to share their stories and perspectives on a wide range of topics. We just want to let you know that the views and opinions expressed by guests on the show do not necessarily reflect those of our own. And now, enjoy Side by Side Podcast.
Hi, I'm Dimari.
And I'm Brandon. Before the show begins, please subscribe, like, comment, and share with a friend.
This allows us to increase our visibility on the platforms where you listen and watch so we can continue to bring you quality content each week. Help us grow, and we can grow together by enlightening minds one question at a time.
And now, back to the show. All right, welcome back to Side by Side for another episode here. I'm Brandon.
And I'm Dimari.
And just in case you haven't caught an episode yet, this show is about creating unity through diversity. We like to bring on two different guests every week, create a little conversation about different stories and perspectives, try to enlighten and inspire minds one question at a time, so to speak. And today we have two wonderful guests today, Lisa Harrington and Kishanda Oliver. Very excited to talk to them in a moment here. But yeah, just one of the things that's a mission of this podcast is that we like to highlight everyone's stories and perspectives that we bring on, especially as people that you may have passed on the street. You never knew the cool stories they have and the stories they have to tell, and so that's what we like to highlight here on the podcast. And before we get into it, as always, Dimari,
Yeah, man.
how you doing? What are you excited about?
Honestly, bro, this new K-Dot album is crazy.
Lamar?
The only one. Yeah. Like, have you listened to it yet?
Yeah. I listened to it today.
What did you think?
So good.
Bro.
It's crazy, man. That one track where like him and the girl are arguing. Did you hear that one?
Yo, I was like, oh, this dude is like a real artist. Just when I thought hip hop was dead,
Yeah.
he resurrected it.
Yeah, for sure.
Bro, that album is crazy.
The flow on like the first couple tracks, it's just how he's like, it's nuts, bro. It's like jazz. It's like
jazz.
Yeah.
It is hip hop. It's a double LP.
Yeah.
So like if you listen to them separately, which I didn't even realize honestly until I was driving here, and I was like, oh, it's two separate albums. And I listened to them, and I was like, bro, how is he this good?
So good.
How is this even legal?
Yeah.
How do you do this?
And you were when it dropped the Pusha T album, I finally took the time to listen to it, like, top to finish.
Yeah.
Bars. He said, what did he say? He said, I'm trying to milk the game that's only 2%.
Yeah. Crazy. No, it's like so many bars, bro.
So good.
But now I can't even care about that. That's like old news. Now I'm just like on this Kendrick.
Yeah.
Like, I can't
for sure
stop listening to it. But yeah, that's what I'm excited about. What about you, man? What's got you excited right now?
Oh man. So much stuff going on. I feel like it's been a whirlwind the last couple weeks. Trying to do this house thing. And I'm excited because we might be moving forward here. We're in that escrow closing period, so
nice.
Very excited to see how this all shakes out and finally get to be a homeowner for once.
Check you out, man.
Yeah.
So I remember like on an earlier episode, you said something about like 85% or something.
Oh yeah.
So does this pass the 85% mark?
Yeah. So it was a crazy story because like we saw it, we didn't see it. We put the offer in kind of like last minute at the deadline, and pulled out like later in the week, and then the people came back and countered with a lower price, and so it was kind of like just like a whirlwind of a week, back and forth. But in the end, it did have it. It's just that like because we didn't see it when we went to see it for the first time, we kind of had this like holy crap moment. Like what did we just do? Like there's still some stuff we want to change, whatever. But ultimately, once the sellers kind of like came back and we talked it down and got some of the money back to like make some changes and do the repairs and fixes and stuff that ultimately kind of took care of the 15% that wasn't right.
Okay.
You know?
Look at you playing hardball. Yo, this reminds me of that Tom Hanks movie from back in the day when they bought that house. I forgot what's that movie called? Have you ever seen that movie?
What 90s?
I think in the late 80s.
I don't know.
It's hilarious, but yeah.
Oh, not Big, right? When he's like a kid?
No,
and
no.
the toys
It's like he buys a house with his wife, and then it just comes with all of these problems. It's hilarious. It's like a hilarious movie. But let's bring these guests on, man.
Yeah, for sure. All right, you want to set it up?
Yeah, man. Super, super, super excited. So I guess we'll start with you, Lisa. I mean, what are you excited about? What has you excited right now?
Summer. It's getting to be warm out. I like warm weather. So I'm excited about that. Gonna try to take another trip to Europe. So I'm excited about that. And I always take a little beach vacation with my daughter. So we're planning that. That's fun. Love to travel.
You're going to Europe?
Uh-huh.
Where are you going?
Well, we're gonna try to go to Germany, like Germany, Austria, Switzerland. We did Italy. My background, so we got to do my husband's now.
Nice. There you go.
Have you been there before?
Just been to Italy, London for a hot second, not for one day, and so pretty excited about that.
That's very exciting stuff. So you mentioned like beach with the daughter. Is that like all in Europe or is that elsewhere?
No, that'll be a different trip.
Ooh, nice.
Just the girls?
My daughter and I love to just hang at the beach, lay around, read a book, but my husband and then my son, they don't like that. So Katie and I, we just go on mother-daughter trips and drink by the pool and
that sounds like a lot of fun. The thing is, like, I can't wrap my head around the beach. Like, I get bored. It's like, what are we supposed to do? You love it, just sitting there and just reading.
I could sit there and watch the ocean all day. Okay, I see Kishanda shaking her head. She's my kind of people.
Yeah,
agreed.
Yeah,
I definitely don't understand.
So we've been to like Cabo, Dominican Republic. We go to, I don't know. I think we're looking at Aruba now. We'll see. She's a deal bringer. She finds all the good deals.
Nice.
What's the best beach you've been to thus far?
Cabo was beautiful. I mean, the only problem with Cabo is you really can't swim very much there because the surf is really rough. There's very few places that you can get in the water. I mean, you can get wet, but it's just beautiful. Like we did an ATV tour and on the beach, rode the ATVs on the beach and everything. That was awesome.
Nice. That's awesome.
Sounds adventurous.
Yeah, for sure. All right, Kishanda, what are you excited about right now?
I'm also excited about some travel that I have coming up. The most recent travel that's coming up is I'm echoing really bad, huh?
No, you're good. Fine.
Okay. The most recent travel that I have coming up is DC. I'm actually going to go and visit some girlfriends there. So used to live in DC for 8 years. So it's really like second home. Excited to go back. Haven't been back there in a while. And then in September, I'm actually planning to go to Jordan. So excited about that. That should be really, really awesome. With some of the same people that I will see in DC. So pretty cool.
Nice. So like, what do you do with the girls like on the reunion trip to DC, the Mecca?
So I actually hosted the official reunion trip here a couple weeks ago in Austin, and I hosted 6 of my college girlfriends from Howard in my house. So it was like a very large sleepover, but it was really fun. I did my first TikTok, so that's one of the things that happens during girls' trips. A lot of brunch, mimosas, some nice dinners. One of our other friends, he hosted a crawfish broil, so it was really cool. We had a good time.
Nice. That sounds fun, man.
Yeah.
It'll be a similar repeat in DC.
Okay.
And then you said you're going to Jordan. Is that like are you doing like a tour package, or are you going just kind of blind and figuring it out?
We are going blind. So one of my best friends is actually like the planner of the group. She planned my 30th. We did Vietnam, We've done Croatia, although that was Yacht Week, so that was kind of pre-planned, but she plans all of the trips. This one is actually for her birthday, so it'll be nice and planned out. But I trust her more than any other event planner. So
Dude, I'm
Yeah.
super jealous. Definitely want to see Petra.
Yeah.
Dude, we were literally just talking about this.
Yeah.
Like, because basically, like, I want to go to Egypt later
Same.
this year. Well, we
both wanna go.
we want to go, but now he doesn't have any more PTO, and I'm like, bro, you killing me, Smalls. You know, I want.
But he knows this guy who does these really cool tours and takes you to all the different spots in Egypt that we want to see.
Yeah.
And so
Nice.
it's like a package deal. You pay for, and you like share a room, and then it's like all planned out and mapped out, which is like what we want, because both of us are big history nuts. We love like ancient civilizations and like
Yes.
mysticism and stuff like that. So we wanna go see where it all started.
You want to see where it all started, man.
for sure.
But he's
For
being
sure.
kept down by the man,
Yeah.
so I don't know.
My
2023, you guys.
Oh, sorry.
No, I was just saying 2023, get planning for it, guys.
My
Yeah.
business
Yeah,
partner is so coincidental. She's leaving for Jordan tomorrow.
Oh,
Isn't that
wow.
crazy?
Nice.
Yeah, she's
Well,
they're doing
send
some
some
big
tips back.
retreat in the big Marriott on the Dead Sea, and she's going to go to Petra and do all that too. So
Please
That's
share whatever tips she
Sure.
has.
I will.
That sounds
awesome.
really cool. It's so funny. Like, I was out last night, and Jordan came up last night.
It's so weird.
Yeah, it's so weird.
We're always, I feel like the last 3 episodes is like these like synchronicities come
Yeah.
up on the podcast, and we're always talking about it. It's so funny.
So weird. I was talking to Mo, and apparently, like, he has like family in Jordan or whatever. I'm like, what is going on? This is crazy. And she says Jordan. She says Jordan.
Yeah.
We got to go to Jordan now.
Apparently,
Yeah.
I do want to see Petra.
I do, yeah.
And a lot of people don't know this about Petra, but it was like a whole city. It's not just the
Opening.
the one that you see like on all the travel like websites and stuff. That's just they call that structure the bank or something like that. I might be getting that wrong, but it's like a river that's dried out now, but it was built on a river that goes back for like another mile or so, and then once you get through it, there's like all these other buildings that you don't like that aren't really as known as the the main famous one. So super cool.
Crazy. Like, how is that place even built?
Yeah.
No one knows.
Yeah. So this is cool. So we'll move into kind of like your guys' upbringings and backgrounds and stuff. But one of the cool things that I'm excited to talk about them on this podcast is both of y'all are successful business ladies, and we definitely want to dive into that when we get into the podcast a little bit. But we'll start off. I want to just talk about like your family life, your upbringing, and all that good stuff. So let's start with Kishanda. Tell us a little bit about your background and your family life and just like childhood, growing up, all that good stuff.
Yes. Well, I am actually from the mean streets of Detroit, Michigan. So,
Oh, where's my wallet?
yeah, we'll start there. Yes, I have lived in a lot of different places, but it all started from me growing up in Detroit. I grew up in a very unconventional way, maybe we can say that. I spent part of my childhood growing up before my mom and my stepdad married, where myself and my mom lived with my grandmother, my aunt, and my great-grandparents. So I've always had a very, very old soul, just because that's the way I was raised. And then when I entered into high school, my mom and my stepdad were getting married, so kind of went into, not really the old soul. I did grow up an only child, so I mean, that was my environment. I didn't have any other kids to keep me young. But I grew up in Detroit, which is like not really known for its like education system and, all of the things. But my mom did a really, really good job as I was growing up to make sure that she put me in the right circles and environments. So I got to experience a lot of things that maybe necessarily that I know other children in my neighborhood and in my environment weren't able to experience. I was a debutante, for example. Most little girls from the east side of Detroit probably don't know what a debutante is. But these are just things that I was really, really fortunate to be exposed to like such as etiquette classes, things of that nature. So it helped to shape me. And then as soon as it was time to make a college decision, it was between three different universities, the University of Michigan, Michigan State, and Howard University. And I said, you know what? It's time to really just flap my wings and see if I fly. So went to DC. Definitely hands down one of the best decisions I ever made, and ended up staying in DC for 8 years. So after graduation, I said, hey, this is the place I love, but that also helped shape a lot of what you see today.
Nice.
Awesome. And so then how does that lead to where you are today?
So, okay. So after Howard, I did work in hospitality sales. So sales manager for a while for some pretty big hotel brands where I did like conference sales and convention sales and things like that. Really wanted to move up. And for me, the path to move up was either I continued on a sales path, which is not really what I wanted to do, or I kind of said, let's start over and go back to school. So at the time, I was really like debating and playing with different ideas. Do I want to go to law school? Do I want to go to business school? Do I even want to go back and maybe look at like psychiatry or psychology? But I went the business school route, and that was also another game changer. So at the time, I was living in Atlanta, had been there for 3 years, moved to Atlanta for love, didn't work out the way that we planned, and went to Indiana. And never in the beginning did I see Indiana being the school that I was going to choose. I actually thought I was going to stay in Atlanta, go to Emory, but Indiana gave the money, so I ended up there. From there, I did like really cool experiences. Got to travel, went to Ghana as one of the projects when I was in school, and got out and actually took a job in tech, which I was really nervous. I'm not a techie girl at all. I'm kind of always the one that's having technical difficulties. So it's pretty funny that I ended up landing in tech as a marketing consultant, but I'm loving it. I actually like really enjoy my job, and yeah, a lot of different experiences. So prior to me entering corporate America at all, I actually spent most of my undergrad years in restaurants. So I bartended, I waitressed, and those were a lot of the experiences that I think were able to make me successful in sales, just because I was never afraid of talking to people. It's actually one of my favorite things to do. So that really played in my favor, but it's always played in my favor. So even now with what I do, I don't, face anyone external, but it's still, even internally, it's just part of my makeup. And I think that that's another thing, is having that hospitality background from being a server.
Nice.
Awesome. So much to unpack there, but definitely want to give Lisa an opportunity.
And it's weird because I forgot, Kishanda, that you grew up in Detroit, which is not too far from where Lisa grew up. Lisa, do you want to tell us a little bit about your background?
Wow, Kishanda, what a wonderful, diverse journey you've been on. That's just amazing. I have a super uber traditional upbringing. I grew up in Toledo, Ohio. So yeah,
oh, wow.
So Detroit right there. So
yes.
45 minutes away.
Yes, so, very close.
Yeah. So long, very traditional family, mom, dad. I'm 9 of 10 children.
Wow.
So,
shout out to all the kids.
What?
Shout out to all the kids, including, Big Pop Riz.
Yes, exactly. So I'm at the younger end of the family. So that's a whole thing to unpack right there. Like we talk about that. So that's a huge age range. Anyway, I grew up there and came down to Cincinnati to attend the University of Cincinnati. I got a bachelor's of science in nursing, and I practiced nursing at the Cincinnati Children's Hospital. I was a pediatric nurse for 15 years, I think, before maybe 12, and came up with this concept of wearing like jewelry or decorative things to hang your ID on came from my daughter actually making me like a plastic beaded child's necklace and said like, here, Mom, you wear this to work and think about me. So I worked in pediatrics, so it was awesome. I put it on, clip my ID to it, and that's how it was born. So we, that my business, we make all kinds of ID jewelry. So left nursing to start my business with my sister-in-law. I left out the married part. That happened right after. Happened right after college, and I've been married for going on 31 years. So so very proud of that. It's not easy, and so that's my sister-in-law. So my husband's sister is my business partner. That's not easy either. But and then so I'm still in Cincinnati. We was a great place to raise our children. Now I have two grown children, 25, a son 25, a daughter 28, and we're still trying to decide kind of where we want to end up, where we want to be, and a lot of that has to do with where our kids decide. Because I will be near my grandchildren, and it's just if I ever get any. But anyway, and then I started a second business in 2020 with the pandemic. We started a kind of a sort of an employee outreach sort of program where you could gift. It's corporate gifting, really, is kind of what it is, but it's gift boxes with snacks and gifts that you can send to employees, either for meetings. We have them for people that have sales meetings online. That way they have something. Welcome back to the office, new hires. But we sell online one-offs, but we primarily all of our marketing is targeted to corporate gifting. So that's like a whole new thing because we thought the other business was going to crash and burn. So we pivoted and started this other business, and the ID jewelry business has exploded. So we're in a lot of mass, we're in mass retailers, and we're kind of everywhere, and it just blew up. And so we had two businesses.
My God, I love that, Lisa. I think that people really underestimate how hard it is to have successful businesses for a longevity as an entrepreneur is something that I'm always just super inspired by. I think that's amazing.
I don't know the numbers. I'm not good with remembering all these little numbers, but it's a really high rate of failure in the first 5 years of a business.
So you said it kind of took off during the pandemic, the ID, because it was already kind of going for a while, right?
Yeah, it was successful, but it just exploded. I don't know if we have our goods in Walmart. For one, we have a real entry-level brand in Walmart, and that was probably one of the only stores people could shop in, which was one of the, right? You only had it seems like forever ago, but then only yesterday at the same time when you couldn't go anywhere and you only had essential businesses open. And so Walmart was one of the only places you could go. And then also I think the essential workers all wear IDs. So I think that was a big part of it too. So people gifting things to them, and that whole piece of all the small gift shops were all shut down. So that was very scary. But then once they kind of came back, we just, it exploded. I think, we were up 30% in 21, another 30. Now we're running another 30 over that. So it's
And so do you find that the marketing is kind of like organic word of mouth, or is there kind of like you guys started that way and then pivoted and kind of capitalized on what you got? How did that go?
The marketing, we don't market a lot in that business, but not a lot. We've done gift shows, trade shows that we sell into where the buyers come to buy for their stores. And that's like our primary, that's our primary method of marketing. For the Bondy, for the gift box business, that's a whole nother, we hired a marketing firm that helps us with their messaging, our logo. did all that. And then we do lots of, Google ads, Instagram ads, targeting. The great thing about that is, of course, you can target down to, I want women age, whatever through whatever. LinkedIn we do as well, because we're trying to get the corporate, the decision makers that are buying those kinds of gifts for employees, sales managers, VPs. We target companies that have really high culture ratings, right? That have good culture and take care of their employees and value that. So that's like a whole nother, we need a whole team for that.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so just to kind of, so everybody knows it, just you want to give the names of each of the businesses so people can check it out?
Bonitas International is the name of the ID jewelry business. Bougie Beads, ID Avenue, those are some of the brands. We have a kind of a family of brands under that, Bonitas International. And I think we're in our 18th year, 19 maybe.
Wow.
That was the one I left nursing for. And then Bondy was Bondy World, and that was in 2020. And it's an awesome way to like recognize employees and show appreciation and love, and just a really nice way to. And we do mostly custom. A lot of people call, I want 200-300 boxes, and we're doing this particular thing, so we can put together a whole custom thing for them that really targets what they're looking to accomplish. So, I kind of came up with that because I live in Cincinnati. My business is in Cleveland. Our big facilities in Cleveland. I live in Cincinnati and Kimberly. My partner lives in Florida. So we have run our business remotely since the beginning.
Wow.
I drive to Cleveland a lot, but we've always run it remotely. So that really wasn't anything new. And this is kind of the thing we did as a company. We would send people Christmas party stuff. We'd have video calls with Christmas parties, people wearing stuff and whatever, if we couldn't all be together. Mm-hmm. So we just kind of spun off on that, and the culture of our company is so important. So we just sort of put all those things together and came up with the concept.
Wow, that's it. There's so much just from your upbringing and then the business stuff that I definitely want to delve into, but definitely want to kind of get Kishanda in this conversation a little bit. So when you were younger, like, I just listened to you, giving praise to Lisa for having an outstanding business. Now two businesses. When you were younger, did you ever, want to start your own business? Do you have any businesses currently? What's your stance on that, Kishanda?
So when I was younger, I actually wanted to be a superstar. So specifically a singer.
You look like a superstar.
Thank you, Lisa. That was my dream. My voice says very differently. So it never happened. However, recently, I'll say probably I discovered this talent / passion when I was in business school. Probably like 2017, 18 is when I did my first painting, which is actually the one that's behind me. So I have been, it's really large, so I can't, it's hard to show it all. But this is actually my very first painting. If you could see where I'm talking to you guys from right now, I'm actually right in front of a whole bunch of art supplies.
Oh, nice.
So I will give it, right now I only have an Instagram page. I've just commissioned like my first piece. So very, very new, but it is my new entrepreneurial baby.
Love it. Nice. Yeah, I actually have a Kishanda Oliver original hanging up right now.
You do?
I need to get me one for the new house.
I didn't charge you for it though, so it was not my first commissioned piece.
No, it was a birthday gift.
Was a gift.
Yeah, no, it's nice. It's hanging up. Yeah, it's good stuff. That's pretty awesome. So, just want to kind of shift back to Lisa, right? So you mentioned you're one of 10 siblings.
Yeah, so
9.
There's 10 altogether. I'm the 9th one. I'm the youngest girl, and then my brother is the youngest, younger than me. So, yeah.
What's the age range of all the children?
It's about 18 years.
Wow.
So, that would be what my mother would say. I was pregnant for 18 years. Basically, it felt like that. But that was a very traditional Italian Catholic upbringing, so you can imagine. So that's...
So what was that like for you? You have older brothers and sisters?
Yeah, so, a lot of people think, oh, you have this big family, that's awesome, you all must be so tight. It's not really like that in my family. It's such a big span. My older brothers and sisters, so we moved into a home when I was 5 years old, and probably 3 or 4 of them were already moved out of the house. So they were like more like aunts and uncles would be, you know what I mean? So that relationship is more sort of not that the brothers and sisters that I'm closer in age to are, I'm closer with. Just more shared experiences, right, and that kind of thing, and there's a whole big generation. My mom would say, I raised kids in 3 distinct different generations.
Yeah.
So, she, God rest her soul, I've lost both my parents, but that's too. My parents were older, so they were friends with my peers' grandparents. You know what I mean? So that was kind of different for me too than most people. But so they're both gone now. But my mom was fascinating to talk to about that kind of stuff. Just and to go through everything. There was the civil rights movement, all of that. She could talk very clearly, about these distinct, she called the me generation. She called, like we say Gen X, She could group the kids into these different generations, and she was just fascinating.
How big was this house? How big was this house?
Very small. So there were 3, usually 3 of us in a bedroom. So I shared a room with 2 other sisters almost my whole life until they all moved out one by one. Like, oh yeah, get some elbow room in here. Now we only have 2 beds in here instead of 3. So it was a very modest home. My dad was a fireman, and then he worked 2 other jobs usually because he was on 24 off 48, and he always worked other jobs. My mom went back to work when we were in school full time. So when my youngest brother went into school full time, she got a job to help support. So they were always worked very hard because that's a lot of mouths to feed and a lot of, just a lot of expense, right? But the world was very different then too. She was great for that discussion too. How much we think we need now and what they got by with, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's always so fascinating to me to look back at that. And most of that generation is gone, even like just period. It blows my mind because every time like D-Day comes around and I'm like watching Band of Brothers and looking up stats and stuff, it's like there's only, every year it's like there's only like a couple thousand, left, and it's so wild. But what you were saying, Lisa, what they had to endure, what they were able to do and survive it with, great circumstances is so amazing to me.
That's incredible. So, I just kind of want to juxtapose that because there's so much to unravel there.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's like,
and Kishanda mentioned she was the only child.
That's exactly what I was going to juxtapose it with. So, what was that like? I'm assuming, correct me if I'm wrong, Lisa, that means, you're generally, probably getting like hand-me-downs, everything is coming from...
You don't even know. So my mom used to make, she would sew, right, to save money. She'd sew outfits. And then there's 3 girls together. Me and my 2 older sisters are closer in age. So she would make, an Easter dress, right? She'd make it It was always green for Angie, blue for Annette, and I got purple because that was my favorite color. But then I had to wear the blue one, and then I had to wear the green one. So they all little shorts and t-shirt, little shorts outfits. I wore every color, all the so that was not a benefit of being the younger because I had to wear every color of every outfit.
Wow, that's insane. So what was that like for you growing up as an only child? Like I have a sibling, I have siblings, he has siblings. So I mean, it's a lot of fun having a sibling. Yeah. I mean, there's moments where you don't like it, but for the most part, it's pretty fun. So what's it like being an only child?
Yeah, I mean, I was never bored. So I did grow up with cousins. I actually, growing up, I had 2 cousins that were actually the same age as myself. One of them did pass away probably about 6 years ago now. But so growing up, the 3 of us were kind of like siblings. So we'd spend a lot of time together, do like sleepovers. And then my little cousin came, who is like 4 years younger than me, and she joined the gang as well. So it was kind of like, I got enough. Like, I'll see you guys 2-3 days of the week. And then I don't really need to do that for the rest of the week. So actually inherited a stepbrother when my parents got married. So even though he wasn't with us all the time, he's actually from Atlanta and lived in Atlanta. So he would do most of his school there, but he would come for the summers, which was really, really rough when we first were getting to know each other. He's like 3 years older than me, and we did not like each other at all. But as we got older and the summers continued to progress, we started to become friends. So that actually made it okay, like having a summer friend that was in the house and we could get into some trouble. So that was cool. It was like my experience of having a sibling in the house.
So like being an only, I'm sorry, go ahead, Lisa.
Oh, I was going to say, that's just interesting, it's interesting for me to think about just having like a sibling kind of plopped on you, right? Because when you grow up with them, you grow into each other or whatever. You just grow and you experience things together. You have like the same kind of, this over here sucks. What are they doing, now? And it just, you have all the same experiences.
Years.
So that would be really hard, I imagine.
It took us years, Lisa. I promise. Like the first 2-3 years were not friendly or fun.
It was like stepbrothers.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it was.
When you guys like marking your territory.
Oh yeah, for sure. Especially because I felt like, hey, I live here. You may be older and bigger than me, but you're coming into my space, So it was definitely a sense of that. If they would have split up earlier, then we would have never made it to that place because it took us probably 3 years.
And so also like you're an only child, so that means you're probably used to having all new things, not having to share all this like sense of entitlement. So like, what how has that shaped you as an adult?
So I was
long pause.
I say this, but I want to make sure that I'm being as honest as possible. I don't think I really had an issue with sharing, but I was very particular about the things that I liked, which I think has also carried on to adulthood. And I'll give you an example of this. So we may go, and maybe with my cousins, and we may go to McDonald's or so to pick up, everyone wants a Happy Meal. We're freaking 5, like get the kids a Happy Meal. Kishanda never wanted a Happy Meal. Kishanda wanted, hey, I want a fish fillet meal. Just shit like that. It's like, you're a child, little girl. But I was kind of spoiled growing up, not because my parents really had a lot of money. I still to this day I'm convinced my mother had to be robbing banks probably, but I was given a lot of those things. So when I was around other children, I also felt like, hey, I don't really want what you're offering to the kids here. I would rather have what you guys are having.
Kishanda, you were a debutante after all, so you got to be a little extra.
It was a little bit of that, yeah. And I think that has carried on. I'm very, very big on even being in corporate America, stepping into the room as the person that I am. So that may be asking for things that people are like, is she a bit outrageous? Maybe, but you don't know until you ask.
So Are you a small business owner, young professional, or pre-retiree looking to grow and protect your assets but don't know where to start? With all the noise about stocks, bonds, cryptos, it can be hard to know what steps to take. Let Black Swan Financial Group help you so you can focus on doing what you're good at. Black Swan Financial Group is a telefinancial planning firm operating in select states nationwide. They're here to help you protect, create, and grow your assets. Visit blackswanfinancialgroup.com today to get your free consultation. Hey everybody, Brandon and Dimari from Side by Side here. Just want to tell you about one of our newest sponsors, Ease Web Development.
Ease Web Development specializes in building high-conversion websites and marketing campaigns that take your business to the next level. They're the easy decision when it comes to marketing.
So check them out now at www.easewebdev.com. That's ease, WEBDEV.com. Now back to the show. So for both of you then, what was it like then with, making relationships with like friends and people like that? So I can imagine, Lisa, for you, it's like you got all these brothers and sisters, all these boyfriends and girlfriends coming and going and like different friend groups and stuff like that. And then Kishanda, for you being an only child, was it difficult to kind of like make different friend groups, or how was that in high school? Start with Kishanda and then bounce it over to Lisa.
I think it was kind of the opposite for me, and I was probably in a really privileged position when it came to going to high school, because I had gone to the same elementary and middle school for kindergarten through 8th grade. And because it was a magnet school, the way it was designed, you had to like test into it. There were only like 2 years that you could test into. It was like kindergarten and like 3rd grade. So a lot of the students that I went to middle school with were also like testing in. The high school I went into, you had to test in to get into as well. So it was like 3 different high schools that people were going to from my middle school. So I had the advantage of knowing a lot of people already, and I was really popular in middle school. So they just kind of rolled over. I just got to live off my existing credits. So it didn't really do much. And then I also had that advantage going to Howard. A lot of us, surprisingly, I probably had, of my graduating high school class of 200, maybe 10 of us went to Howard. So I also came in pretty strong, having a good foundation, and knowing also other people that had been a couple years older than me that were already there. So I always kept a very, very strong social circle. Dimari is saying I'm extremely like a social butterfly. So even when I'm dropped into new situations, moving to Austin, I knew no one. And within the first 3 to 4 months, I would say I had built up like a very robust like network of young Black professionals.
Okay. And Lisa, what was it like growing up with all those brothers and sisters and different friend groups? Was it crazy, or how was that for you?
It's funny now that you say that. I don't recall having a bunch of my brothers and sisters' friends around.
Okay.
So it must have been discouraged, and I don't recall that. But it's like we were just looking to get out of there, So we were always at our friend's house. They weren't coming to us.
Yeah.
And a lot of stuff we just did together. I mean, we had a whole baseball team there, So, so a lot of stuff
too.
we did together, and I played a lot of sports. And my family did. I mean, most of my siblings did. And you just make a lot of friends when you're involved in sports, team sports at school and whatnot coming up. So, and that was kind of, there wasn't a lot of extra money to do. We didn't vacation. We didn't do all that. That was kind of, sports was your activity. And you took your stuff and you hopped on your bike and you rode to practice. There was no dropping off. And I would say our parents, at least I recall them being at a lot of games, being very supportive and watching the games and everything. And then now I think back to that and I scratch my head. Like, I thought it was hard with 2 kids, like trying to balance all that, but they would come and watch, and Papa Rizzo was very loud and vocal, very encouraging. But Yeah, so I don't remember tons of people being around the house all the time. Like, we just had enough already as there was.
So this is the part of the podcast I have to tell Kishanda, because I don't know if Dimari told you before, but Lisa is my aunt, so she's my godmother.
When I heard Papa Rizzo, Papa Rizzo, I said, wait a minute now.
Was I not supposed to let that slip?
No. It's good because we built up to it. So it actually segues into a story perfectly, which is just real quick. And I'd like to hear Lisa's thought on this since we're family. But it's so funny because the family's so big, right?
Yeah.
And so like they decided many years ago to start doing these like family reunions. And at first it was like all the Rizzos. It was like my grandpa, he has 3 brothers. So, and all of them had these big families.
Okay.
And so it was like 100 people at like the first couple family reunions, but I was like a little baby back then, so I don't really remember much of it. But I do remember one year when I was like, maybe high school age or something like that. You guys all decided to do these shirts, and it was funny when you were saying there's a whole baseball team there, because it was like the shirts had the picture of our grandparents on the front, and then on the back it said "I'm with number blank." And so my dad is number 6, so my shirt said I'm with number 6, and then you could identify who everybody was with. But it's like, it's so crazy.
Yeah, and your dad just had a big number 6, and then everybody else said I'm with 6. I'm with 9, whatever. Yeah.
As a huge family, that's insane. So definitely love to go back to what Rizzo was talking about earlier, because we love, business. We love women empowerment. It's huge. Yeah. Right. So, Lisa, you made a pretty, well, both of you actually made, a huge shift, right? From, working, I think you were doing some retail stuff, you said, Kishanda, and then you decided that you were going to, or you're doing hospitality, sorry. And then you said you're going to, switch and go to get an MBA. And Lisa, you were a pediatric nurse, and you said, I'm going to stop this and I'm going to take a leap of faith and start a business. Please walk me through that process. Yeah. We'll start with you, Lisa.
So I was quite happy being a nurse. And my husband's sister, she just happened to be, she was a corporate woman, and she was displaced out of her job because she worked for a corporate travel agency, and 9/11 put them under. So, and side note, her travel agency actually sold a ticket to a terrorist online, which she was like when she found that out, she was beside herself, even though you have nothing to do with that. It's just creepy,
that'll put you out of business fast.
Yeah. So she was looking for something to do. She didn't know if she wanted to buy a franchise, whatever. Well, I told her about this little cottage business I had. Katie had the idea, that's my daughter, had the idea at first. So I was like, well, let me teach you some skills about a business, and we'll go and we'll buy these other better beads, and we'll make these necklaces. And I just was selling them in my unit. And I was selling them so fast, we couldn't really make them fast enough. Mm-hmm. And I was telling Kimberly about that, and she was like, oh, hold up, this is a business, and just started writing down, if we get this much of the market share, you got this much of the market share with word of mouth, and if we can do this, and there's this many nurses and teachers that wear IDs, and I'm like, hold on, I'm a nurse, wait, So she kind of talked me into it, and I would love to talk business with Kishanda sometime, because she has the background that I keep looking at getting my MBA, an executive MBA, because I would love to do that, but it was all self-taught. So we had a sourcing agent. We make our stuff overseas, jewelry. We explored a lot of different ways to do that, but then I took that over, go to China. I've probably been to China 23 times, I think, at last count, and handle all the sourcing, the factories, and then we just built our business, from that. And we're both very self-taught. She was in corporate marketing with no consumer product experience at all. And we learned, and we always say you don't make mistakes, you learn lessons, right? But then in 2008, we were like, we're tired of learning now. Can we just cruise? Like, we've learned enough lessons, but that is how you do it. You make mistakes. We're huge into using resources, so we're a women-owned business. We're a certified women-owned business. Both of our businesses are, which allow us to link into a great group of women as support system. And we also applied. We submitted our business plan for this contest that we entered, and all of those people are still connections of ours. And we help others all the time. So it's just this massive network. And when you have something like, I don't know, we have this HR problem. We're not big enough to have an HR department, but we got this expert over here that we know. They can help guide us. And then if somebody's looking at sourcing or doing this or going in the gift market, I help them, so that network is key to everything. Just helping people, and people help you and share knowledge.
Definitely love that. But again, please, how did you decide you were going to quit your comfortable, cozy job and start a business?
I didn't quit right away. I stayed part-time and eased into until it got to a point where I couldn't. I got to a breaking point, and it was too much. And also there were some things happening in my unit at the hospital that weren't the greatest. So I was like, okay, now's the time.
Yeah.
But I kept my license. I would renew my license. I would do my CEUs and renew my license. For 15 years I did that because I worked hard for that, and I wasn't going to give that up.
Yeah, and they expire every 2 years or something like that if you don't do the CEs.
Yeah. You have to do a certain number of CEUs and renew it. And
what did your husband think about this whole transition?
He is incredibly supportive. He's a super wonderful, supportive person. So I'm sure he was scared at first, but right now we're very comfortable with the way things are going. But owning your own business, there's a lot of positives and there's a lot of stress and a lot of risk. So, and I'm not the most risk-taking type of person. She is. So it actually is a really good balance. I'm much more of a realist. So it's a really good balance because she's always trying to tear me down these paths. And I'm like, wait a minute, let's walk through this and why that. And did you think about that? And then, I would not take some of the risks, be in the places we are. And I would venture to say she'd be off the cliff by now if it wasn't for me. So we balance each other. But it was scary, and I wasn't willing to do it right away. I had to kind of keep ease out. So
yeah, so I definitely want to get into some stories. I'm sure you have plenty, but Kishanda, so just walk us through. I mean, you have a job, and you said I'm going to take a break from my job and go and pursue an MBA. How does that even happen?
Which at the time I was older than most people that go to pursue an MBA.
How old were you?
So I want to say maybe 28, 29 once I really, 28 when I really started taking the process seriously. So I'm telling my parents at this point, who have really been concerned about, the whole time, ever since I went to Howard, they were always concerned when I told them I was moving off campus. They're like, well, how are you going to pay for it? I'm like, I make enough money, the restaurant industry is okay. I can pay rent. You guys still take care of my car. We'll be good. Right. So, they're like, well, we don't have enough money to sustain you through business school. You don't have enough money to sustain you through 2 years of business school either. So they were very, very kind of hesitant. They were wondering hey, are you thinking this through? For me, so actually I'll take this back because my mom and my dad had very different perspectives. My mom is definitely more hesitant. Her risk tolerance is a lot lower. So my stepdad, however, is more like your sister-in-law. And he's like, well, you don't like that job anyway. So why are you? And I'm like, I do. So I loved hospitality. I didn't want to stay at that level. And I felt like I was forced to a place where I had to make a decision. Either you're really going to go down this path forever, or you're going to start something new right now. And knowing that I was about to take a 2-year commitment to complete something and still not really have a certain end goal was extremely scary. I actually was one of the when I graduated, I was one of the graduates that did not actually sign. I didn't sign my an offer letter until maybe 2 weeks before graduation. So I also didn't even know where I was really going after business school, which was incredibly scary because I'm like, well, I've done this.
So when you say
and now
offer
I
letter,
don't know
you mean
where I'm gonna end up.
when you say offer letter, you mean for like a corporate job after
For a job
graduate?
after. Okay. Yeah. So I had no idea. Probably about 80-90% of my class, they're set. They're ready to rock and roll.
Wow.
I was not. So, but I knew I made the right decision regardless, even during that time of hey, this is crunch time and you still don't know where you're going to work. It was the right decision because it was the only way that I was going to grow to a certain level in that amount of time. And then also because it was paid for, I was like, that was literally nothing but God to say, hey, this is in Bloomington, Indiana. I know you never expected to be here, but that's where he placed me and everything worked out phenomenally. The job that I was devastated about not getting at first, I got a job that compensated way better, the work-life balance way better. So everything really, all the stars aligned.
Nice.
So you had to buckle down because you don't just apply for business school and get in. You have to take a test, right? So walk us through that whole process. Were you still working at the time, and then you stopped and studied?
I was fake working at the time. I'll tell you what I did. Okay, so my position was about to be eliminated. I was working for Hyatt at the time. I won't say the next company. I may have said it earlier, but I was working for Hyatt at the time, and my position was about to be eliminated. So I had flown to Chicago. The company flew me out to corporate. I went for 2 rounds of interviews. I was feeling pretty confident about what I had done there. They ended up going with an MBA. So that was the turning point for me that I said, okay, well, I'm going to go get an MBA. I'd already toyed around with the idea, but I was like, no, everyone that's in the positions that I want career-wise, they mostly have MBAs. So I was like, okay, but I also know that my job is about to be eliminated, so I have to find something else.
Yeah.
So I was reached out to by a big media company, and I took that job as an account exec where I did outside sales for them. And I wasn't doing my job. I'll be very honest. I was not doing my job. I was studying for the GMAT. So I would go in, I would do, whatever clerical work I had to do in the office. Then as I was supposed to cold call, I was in Starbucks and I was studying for the GMAT at least 3 days of the week.
Wow.
The other 2, I probably made some calls.
Wow.
Well, fast forward, you're not working, so you're also not performing. My manager at the time says, hey, what's going on? I'm going to have to put you on a PEP. You're going to have to be on an improvement plan. So I was just very, very real with her. And I said, hey, I just want to be honest. I have not been here. I'm very checked out. The reason is I'm actually looking to go to business school. I've been studying really hard. What do I need to do for you to keep me for the next 3 to 6 months? Then I will be out of your hair. And we worked out an agreement. I did a little bit more work and I also continued studying.
Wow.
So,
I feel like that's why we need more women in these roles because there's no way a dude would be they'd be like, dude, you're done, bro. Get out of here.
That's amazing that you just were. I mean, that's a lesson in and of itself. Just if people are watching, I mean, you took a leap of faith, even just going to your manager to tell them and be honest with them, and that's amazing.
And the way she framed it, which is, what do you need from me, to keep me here? I'm leaving regardless. But I don't think that works with a guy.
Yeah. So on that note, we're in this time now where things are changing constantly in the culture, and I log on LinkedIn and I see all this stuff about women empowerment, and in my workplace it's a big deal, and Lisa, you know, I seen on you've done all this cool stuff, and so for both of you, and I actually want to stay with Kishanda for a minute. Kishanda, being in corporate, being a woman, you know, going back to school and starting over and having to claw your way up the corporate ladder, as they say. What kind of challenge has that been for you as a woman, and you know, in your life and your career?
Yeah, I mean, I think that one of the biggest challenges, like, is knowing that in most, like, as a Black woman, in most corporate America situations, I'm gonna be one of few, you know. So that always kind of comes with its own challenges of how much of myself do I really bring to the table. I have found out what works best for me is I go in there and I show it all to them. I show it all to them pretty much right away because I don't. Jay-Z has said this, and I think it's brilliant, and I kind of live
We
by
love
it. But
Jay-Z
he says,
quotes.
I'm the
Big
same
Jay-Z's.
person in every room that I walk into.
Yeah.
And I really try to live by that. So it's one of the things where I'm like, okay, if this is really the environment that I need to be in, that I can actually contribute to in a sustainable way, then it has to be an environment that I'm comfortable in, you know? So, like, I have to, you know, answer, like, raise my hands when I have questions. I also found out when I was in business school that I have ADHD. Never knew. I was fucking 30 when I found out. You know, I had been going through life. I, you know, achieved a lot of different accolades, but never ever knew. I just knew that business school was way too hard. And I was like, well, I'm here and I'm here for a reason. So why is it this hard? So I'm very transparent about that at work as well. I just think it's very, very important to say, like, okay, how are we going to work together? We're all on the same team. What does that look like and feel like for everyone to bring their best self to the table? For me, it's being me. So
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
And Lisa, I mean, you mentioned you've been to China like 20-something times, and you started two businesses. You started with this traditional nursing job, and then you took this big leap of faith. And I imagine there's probably been tons of challenges, and even going the culture difference between China and U.S. Talk to us about that. What's it been like?
Well, I think Kishanda and I, when I go to Austin, we're going to have drinks because we're
For
just
sure,
together.
for
Because
sure.
we're very, very much alike in that regard.
I cannot wait.
Super out front. Like I don't split hairs. I tell it like it is, and usually you can see it on my face. If I'm not saying it, you can see it. My face is usually. One of my employees said that to me the other day. When that guy was talking to you, I wanted to tell you, fix your face. He was trying to sell me. We were buying her a new laptop, and he was trying to sell me something, and I must have been looking at him like, get to the end, because I'm going to be like, don't need it. Anyway, so it's interesting. There definitely are challenges, and I think it's a little different for an entrepreneur than for somebody working their way up a corporate ladder. So I think it's probably more challenging kind of working your way up a corporate ladder, because an entrepreneur is your business, your product idea, and I don't know. It seems if your product sells and your product is a good and you're doing the right things there, there's definitely a kind of lack of confidence, I think, for women that own businesses from some people, not everybody. You know, the SBA, for example, told us that our business plan showed we'd make a profit in the first year, and it was a woman, actually, and she said, nobody ever does that. You're never going to do that. And we made, like, it was something under $500, but it was a profit. And so we were still like, remember that lady that said we couldn't do it? Right. But China's culture is a whole nother level. So yeah, they don't seem to respect women the same way. And so that's a little different. It's changed a lot over the many years that I've been going there, probably 12 years that I've been going there, but everything was set up for males. I mean, everything, down to the hotel. The hotels had suit stands, you know what I mean? And so they nice hotels, which were really, you could stay in a really nice hotel for like $60 a night. And they'd have like pressing things for men to press their pants and all pants hangers, you know, just stuff like that. Like just stuff that where you would be like, oh, and then there's a store down in the lobby and it's menswear. Like, what about the woman executive here that like forgot something or needs a new shirt or something, you know? So that kind of stuff just was everywhere. They would not outwardly be, you know, I didn't get that feeling outwardly from them, but you would see that stuff kind of permeating everywhere. And I think that the whole woman thing has come a long way. And I think it's a lot further than the race issue. And there needs to be a lot of catching up for the race. So I think being a woman of color is probably, I don't know, but I imagine it's much more challenging than just a white woman. But I think there is still some discrimination for women, and our opportunity to get, for example, in the biggest retailer in the world was because we're a minority-owned business, because we're women-owned.
All right.
And it was an opportunity that was provided for minority-owned businesses. So that was great. And I really just want to dial back to Bondy. And Bondy we're working on getting our B Corp certification, and we try as hard as we can to just use marginalized groups for our vendor where we buy from. We try to buy Black-owned, Asian-owned, women-owned environment B Corps too as well. So we've been able. That's been fun because we kind of can build that from the ground up. It's only 2 years. It's a baby. It's a lot harder to go back and unpack and unwind stuff and try to get. You know, Bonitas, we're working on Bonitas getting B Corp certified as well, but it's much more difficult. But I'm pretty proud of that we really try to support what we can and give opportunities to marginalized groups because, you know.
You said something that I really, really loved when you spoke about how the woman said you weren't going to make a profit and you did, even though it was little. So can I shout out? I actually have a Black-owned business of one of my friends that I would love to shout out right now. Please. Because funny enough, so she and her business partner were on the Shark Tank. The name of the business is called The Lip Bar. Cosmetic company, all vegan products, like amazing stuff, right? And Mr. Wonderful told them, like, no, get out of here. You're never going to, like, get a deal. Well, she's now in, like, 1,000 Targets or so, maybe more. And he was actually, Mr. Wonderful was on The Breakfast Club on the radio show. And one of the hosts asked him about that. He was like, you know, we had the girls from the Lip Bar on here. They're from Detroit. And you told them no. And the fact that your story coincides with that one, because it was literally like, something that I just saw, and you just never know people. But I love when I get to see people that have been underestimated, prove the underestimator wrong.
I mean, I helped my friends start a business in LA. It's a restaurant, but, you know, it was the same thing. You know, we go to ask people for some seed money to get it going and get it, expand it and stuff. And people laugh them out the room or say, this is a dumb idea, dumb concept. And, you know, after a year and a half, we're still there. And now they're going on 5 years now and they're still kicking. So it's like, I think sometimes that's the fuel, that's definitely the fuel for the people who feed off that.
Yeah, no, not everyone's going to see your vision, right? So I think it's great that you still persevere no matter what, and being a woman makes it that much better, right? But, you know, Lisa, you said something that was very interesting to me, and I kind of want to get Kishanda's feedback on that, because you just had the juxtaposition of, you know, being a woman versus being a woman of color, right? So, Kishanda, you are obviously a Black woman. You said that yourself. Right. So, you know, when you're in the, well, you said it. I don't know. You know, in 2022, I can't make any, you know.
Say I'm a white man. We don't know.
You could be a white male. That's right. I have no idea. Yeah, but
Right.
you said you identify as a Black woman, so I just want to make sure we're on the same page there, right? But so as a Black woman, right, you're two things at once, right? You're Black and you're a woman. When you're like dealing with any type of, situation where there maybe is some level of discrimination or something that you might, perceive, how do you distinguish if it's, targeted towards you because you're a woman or because you're Black? How do you distinguish that?
Oh, that's a very great question. Honestly, I think the way that I don't know if I can say most, but I feel like the way that I've been conditioned as a Black person in America is that it's always race first as I'm being discriminated against.
So it's like brainwashed, it's like propaganda.
It's not even that it's propaganda. I think it also speaks to what Lisa said, is the fact that we haven't come as far with the racial gap as we have with the sexual gap. So when I look at, situations, the only time I've been outwardly disrespected was, someone that's blatantly called out race. I've never been. No, actually, I take that back. A man did call me a B word one time, so I guess I have been called out.
Wait, is the B word Black or what's the B word? Is it Black?
A bitch.
Yeah, okay. Just want to make sure.
Right. So, I did get called that when I was bartending, though. So, it's not that everyone is gonna, say, oh, well, because she's Black. But in the experiences that I have had, which have not been many, I've been very fortunate, I do believe, have been more based off of me being Black rather other than me being a woman. I will not say that, though, sometimes in corporate settings. I think in corporate settings, it does go because you are a woman. It's good old boys clubs, and actually Black men can get into them too. But as a Black woman, it's very, very hard to break through that ceiling. Wow, so I will say in different situations, it very varies.
Wow. And so it sounds like there's no way to really know. You can't really distinguish. So the story you kind of tell yourself is like, he's just hating on me because of his melanin.
Well, and it doesn't really matter, right? It doesn't really matter. You're getting discriminated against one way or the other, and you're not given the fair look. So it really doesn't matter. It's still the bullshit,
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. So Lisa, I mean, you have been running a successful business for a long time now, and now a second business, right? Just for the listeners and watchers, like, can you think of a story that, was really challenging that you had to overcome? And if you can, share that with us.
Gosh, there's been so many.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, in 2008, the recession that we had to cut all kinds of things. We had to. We didn't want to lay anybody off. We really didn't want to do that, but we had to whittle our staff down. Everything was just crazy suppressed, right? And sales and everything. So we just cut everything down. And honestly, that is another learning. So twice that's happened, we found ways to be so much more efficient when you have to be. So it actually ended up being a really positive thing in the end, because we figured out, you tear everything up, right? And say, where can we save money? Where can we do this? Can we cut this off and do this and turn off all this stuff? And do we really need this software? And we stopped paying ourselves, which was a really hard thing. That was what we decided to do, as opposed to laying off a bunch of people that we needed. We always run kind of a slim crew, we're not very frivolous with hiring because of that. Like I had to, when I had to furlough somebody in 2020 because everybody's dead in the water, I couldn't not cry. I just was beside myself. It hurt me so bad to do that. So we make our hiring decisions very carefully because we never want to let people go because there's not work for them.
Yeah. How many employees do you have?
We have about 12 now.
Okay. And do they all work remotely or are they in Cleveland?
Both. So there's probably 6 of them in Cleveland right now. I have 2 in my Cincinnati office with me that work blended. They do both, kind of do whatever they want, basically. They can come in the office, not. We work together some days in the office. And then Kimberly has 2 in Florida with her. So yeah, that was really hard not to make any money. Thankfully, I had my husband's income that it could help. Kimberly was a single mom, so it was really, really rough on her.
Oh, wow.
But that was what we did. We stopped our salary because we had to. We had to like stop the bleeding and then, recovered. I don't know. I don't remember how long it was, and it was very, very painful. And then all the emotions go up, right? So again, I'm working with my sister-in-law. It's family. You never escape it, everything is business, like the business and the family, it's all meshed together there. So it's painful. We had a lot of, and I would say too, aside from that, a whole nother thing that we overcome is our completely different personalities. She is risk taker, kind of just could talk very cold and businesslike. I'm a very emotional person. I'm a very sensitive person. You know what I mean? And that has been really difficult in a good way because I think I've grown tremendously and she's grown tremendously, getting to a place where we can talk together, respect each other's differences, and still like make the important decisions and feel good about it and feel, that we still love each other and we can still be in business together. That's been a challenge because, I want to go home and say, your sister is a pain in my ass. And my husband is completely different than her. Completely different. I mean, completely. So the only thing we're similar about is that we're both very outgoing, meet people easily, make friends easily, and things like that. But otherwise, we're very, very different. So that's been a massive challenge over the years. But I think if she was here today, she'd say exactly the same thing. She's a better person for it, and we've grown. Our personal growth has been tremendous through that.
Yeah. Are you looking to fully brand or rebrand your business? Graphic designer Maaly Williams is ready to take your brand to the next level with high-quality logo work, web design, and amazing jaw-dropping marketing materials. You can follow him at graphic.mw on Instagram to book a consultation to get started. That's incredible. Cool. Yeah, so I'm assuming you've picked up a little bit of her shrewdness and she's picked up a little bit of your emotional intelligence. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, somewhat. I think that we both learn how to talk to each other so that we respect, the things about. Sometimes things I say, she takes, we have to validate, we'll have these conversations and we'll hang up and then I'll call her back and go like, hey, I really didn't feel great about that.
Yeah.
And here's what I heard you saying this. And she was like, that's not what I meant at all.
Love that.
We have to validate a lot because things you interpret, right? And you take everything in through a filter of your experiences, your life, your religion, your everything.
Yep.
Your race, everything.
Yep.
So
Absolutely.
when you're taking it in through your filter, it changes. It just is a natural thing. It changes from what they might be saying. It might be very close to the same thing, but you're still filtering it through your stories, everything. So that would be like, to me, communication-wise, my just, learning is to validate that what you're hearing is what they're saying.
Yeah, that's super important. I talked to a guy, like a life coach, and he left me with like the best advice that I'm going to share with you guys for free.
Please
but he's
do.
like, basically, like, anytime you get into one of those things, and Lisa, you kind of alluded to it when you called back and you said, what I'm hearing you say, we actually have to like acknowledge that filter for ourselves and realize that we're always telling ourselves a story.
Yeah.
So anytime you're thinking something negative or whatever, you should always just stop back and say, well, the story I'm telling myself is fill in the blank. And that really helps. Like, I do it all. I'm like, okay, that's the story I'm telling myself, right?
Yeah.
I don't know that that's actually true.
Yeah.
So it just kind of, alleviates a lot of stress and things that just aren't important.
I unknowingly did that on my walk to the car to go home from work today.
Yeah.
Because I was like, something happened at work that I was like in my head about. And I'm like, well, actually, you don't really care about this because of X, Y, Z. And it's like I had to like have that conversation with myself to get rid of it.
It's so important.
Yeah.
So, Lisa, do you and your business partner, do you have like defined roles, or does it just kind of blend, or how does that work?
Yeah, so that's completely changed over the years too. So, but I mean, evolved, I should say. So yeah, I'm the CEO. So I basically run both businesses. I'm a great person for execution. I execute operations like your dad, Brandon, kind of.
I was going to say, he gets it from his dad. He's definitely our COO here. Like, he gets busy.
Now Phil and I are not quite as Phil's Brandon's dad is probably like up here with that, and I'm like here. I'm a more moderate ops person than him, but I do execution, and I really goes back to my nursing and probably just my personality. I question a lot of things. So I'm always questioning. When I was a nurse, I needed to understand how this is helping, like what's going on here and what's going on in the kid to like be able to give them the best care. Mm-hmm. It's the same in business. I ask a ton of questions. So I'll ask a lot of questions, and so Kimberly comes flying in with this big idea. That's what I always call it, like, here comes another Kimberly big idea. and like, she comes flying in, and I'll be like, well, what about this, and what about that, and what about that? And that's another issue. She'll be like, you're always shooting me down. I'm like, no, it's not shooting down. I think it's a good idea, but, well, I'm not sure if it's a good idea. Let's see if it's a good idea, because is it executionable? And how is it impact? And I'm always looking to see how it impacts our employees. And do they have the bandwidth to do what you're asking them to do? And do we have the bandwidth, and in the priority list, where does that fall? She always jokes that she oversimplifies, and she does. She does. So she's like, that doesn't take that long. You can just come like, no. Like, do you know exactly how they perform their job? Because it takes a lot longer than that. So I'm kind of much more in and that, and she does big ideas and finance, actually. And because of her connections, she loves the whole wheel and deal in corporate world. So she has a lot of connections. She's our main bank, our finance relationship person. And because of her ability to like just reach out, I'm echoing now, reach out and ask, she's got no qualms about getting what she needs. Mm-hmm. So she'll go ask for stuff for us that I wouldn't.
I wanted to ask Kishanda.
It's interesting because Kishanda, I wanted to kind of steer towards you for a second, because Lisa had talked about how her partner and her business find that balance by the communication piece. So would love to hear from you. How do you find balance in your career and life with all the things you got going on, and even in those times where it was challenging and stressful? How'd you find the balance to like keep yourself right, keep going?
Oh man, well, I think it really, really comes down to a lot of that introspection, how we just talked about, like noticing your own filters and your own lenses. I actually saw it was like an illustration the other day. They had like all these people standing in a line, maybe like 10 different people. And for everyone, it just had like a different thing that they had going on, like one was maybe celebrating a promotion, one had lost their mom, one was, like on her menstrual cycle, one, like just different things that people have going on. And I think that just being mindful of that. So I try to make sure that, like, okay, whatever I have going on, I don't need to then put that onto someone else. So I like to make sure that I'm showing up very much the same, so regardless of what I have to do to get there, which I meditate every morning. So that's one thing that really like keeps me grounded. And I also work out every day, and I work out every day in between work hours. So I'll try to do it like, at lunch hour, but if not, like, let's say I have, like something to do, a lunch meeting or anything like that, I make other times throughout the day where I'm able to like, okay, go to the gym. It's something that like my whole team knows, like, okay, well, it'll be an hour. Like my assistant, I'll tell them like, hey, was doing this. I'm going to the gym at 11 today. So just making sure that I'm able to like balance the things that make me feel like me. I think that that's how I'm able to. I may have steered a little bit away from your question.
No, it's fine. Well, actually, one thing that I was interested because we got a challenge from Lisa. You mentioned that you had ADHD and you realized at the age of 30 and you were going through business school, and not a little business school. That's a top business school, by the way, people. I don't know if you people know this, right? So, what were some of the challenges that you can remember, in business school that you had to overcome?
The main thing was, so I went to get tested for dyslexia. I didn't even think that ADHD was like on the table at all. But I knew that when I worked in hospitality, I would really, really fuck up some numbers sometimes in terms of like flipping them around.
Numbers are pretty important.
Out that weren't there. What'd you say?
I said numbers are pretty important, but
numbers are important, and you should get them in the right order. I mean, like phone numbers, anything. So I was like, well, it must be my dyslexia. So I was like, let me go. I was noticing that I didn't have enough time to complete like the exams that we would have. So I would get through the exam, and what the portions that I would be able to get through, I would usually get right, but then there's a whole nother 30% of the test that's untouched, right? So I was like, hey, this is a problem. This isn't going to work. So I went and spoke with one of the advisors, and he was like, okay, well, we'll get you have to do like a 3-day testing. It like happened over like the span of like 5 days or so. And what they do is they give you like all these different, not aptitude tests, but of that nature. And it came back that it was ADHD, not what I was originally thinking with the dyslexia, but the challenges really came within like not having enough time. So like one of the things that most like universities will do to accommodate for that is you'll get like time and a half for exams and things. So for me, that made it. And then they also like will give you options if you want to test in like different environments. I always like to take the test with everyone else, but I would require a little bit more time to finish the task.
Wow, I didn't even know that was an option. So like, how do you negotiate that?
Well, you don't negotiate it. Once they find out it's a learning disability, once they find out it's offered to you.
Oh, wow. That's pretty cool. That's awesome. Yeah, I feel like everyone should have that.
They were very supportive throughout.
Wow. That's really cool.
They've come such a long way with that stuff, right? I mean, amazing.
Yeah, because
they had technology that will like read text for you if it's like, getting too long and tedious. You could turn something on. I had something installed on my computer during the time where it would like read different text to me. So it was very helpful, and it made the next year and a half of business school so much better for me to really just not feel like I was being left behind.
Yeah. Wow. So one of the great, I don't know because we're in 2020. 20, but generally, one of the great things about women is they can have children, right? And so I like to know, what's that like managing, a business, or even before you had your own business, you were, a pediatric nurse. Was that like balancing the work life and motherhood, Lisa?
it's hard. I mean, I think my video froze. I turned it off and back on again. But anyway, it's really hard. I know my partner at one time suggested to me, like, you just need to hire some high school kid to do their homework with them after school because I need you to be working more. And I was like, I kind of want to raise them myself, so I kind of want to be there. So it's definitely a lot easier, once they went off to college. But it's hard, and I think you just have to say no to some things, like in the business, or because it goes so fast. They grow up so fast, and I wouldn't feel very great about having a successful business and having my children feel like they didn't have me and their dad to support them and to be there for them. And it feels like, at the end of it, sort of, they'll always, I'm always still raising them, but, they're independent adults now. But it just seems like there's this window in there that if you're not there for them, things can go sideways so fast. Wow. So I think, and my son had the same challenge with ADHD as well. That was something that, we looked at. Do you want to give him medicine? Do you not? Well, kids with that are a lot more likely to be, get involved with drugs and drinking because, it's all part of stress, right? That stress and anxiety that builds for people, kids. And I think, you got to be present and there for them, whether you're a single parent or two parents, whatever, because they're so impressionable. And there's just that window of age where they need you. And so I chose to be a mom. I chose to have those children, and I feel like it's my responsibility. So they come first, But I also think it's important that they learned that I have another life, right? I have another interest. I have this business, and this business has been able to provide trips to Italy and, that kind of stuff too. That's important, and soccer camp and whatever. So I was home, and I'm not a helicopter mom by any stretch. They solve their own problems. I'm not a hoverer, but I'm just, I'm just there. But by the same token, I'm not there all the time. I have my work and I have that. And so I think that's a good role model as well,
Yeah. So how many hours were you working, at the start of those businesses?
I don't know. I think when we started, Kimberly drove a lot of it. So, I'd say I'm probably working 20, 30 hours a week in the business because we didn't know. Like we were just piecing together all the jobs we had to do. Like we didn't, we got to learn. I guess we got to invoice people for these orders. I mean, literally we were
guess
just
we got to get
learning
paid
as we go. Totally. And she was driving the bus for, I would say, the first, 5 years or so. And I was just designing things, getting them made, doing that. We had local moms that were making the necklaces initially. So I'd put together the kits, and they'd come over, and I would give them their kits, and they'd bring them back, and we'd package stuff. And it was just, and now, and then I would say, we go through ebbs and flows where I work 60 hours a week. And now I'm in a good place where I have employees that are able to cover a lot and do a lot. And I don't, I play tennis 4 times a week.
Love it. Love it.
I can do a lot of the stuff that makes me really happy, and it can be a lot more flexible. But, when the shit hits the fan, though, it's me. It's the owners that have to buckle down and do it. And to go to China, and we go to China, you work for 2.5 weeks straight, really, because you're there, you fly there, you're working every day, every night, pretty much. So, and it's really not fun.
Wow. How many SKUs do you have now?
Oh gosh, my catalog, we have, I don't know, hundreds.
Wow.
Hundreds of SKUs.
That's
Yeah,
wild.
I mean, we have 4 different brands, I think. So yeah, we have lots.
Wow. So Kishanda, is that something you're interested in, entering motherhood?
It is something that I'm interested in, but I have to enter into marriage land first. So, just really when that happens, yeah, I will be ready definitely to entertain
And you think
motherhood.
you can, I mean, she says it's pretty hard, finding that balance between, work and motherhood. You think you can do it?
I'm really hoping so. What I have been able to see at my company is a lot of amazing women leaders that actually are family women as well. So they have really proven that, okay, I can have the career, the family, and also not go crazy and keep my hair. So,
She can do
I
it.
mean,
She can
women
do
are
it.
doing
I
it
already
every
can
day.
tell. I already can tell you can do it.
They're doing it every day. Why can't I?
Yeah.
So, I mean, it definitely will be a lifestyle change from doing this thing very solo, from being, an only child and living, alone independently for almost the last 10 years. So,
Yeah.
definitely be an adjustment.
Yeah. So
Kishanda,
are you going
can I ask you a question? Would you
Yes,
ever be interested in just having a child yourself?
never.
No, okay. I
Yeah.
have an employee that is doing that. She just is at an age where she wants a child, and she's not like in a relationship that's But
Yeah.
there's a kind of a two sides to that, right? If you think of the father
I'll,
figure is an
I'll give
important
you
role. Mm-hmm.
exactly, exactly. I'll give you my take on why it's a no. So I actually have a friend that was thinking about the same thing. She was actually, wondering if she should consider like egg donors, sorry, sperm donors, because she just felt like she was in that period of life and that's, she's ready to be a mom. So totally get that. For me, the reason why it's a no-go was just because I believe in the importance and the value of, having a child that's raised in a two-parent household.
Yeah.
I, got to experience both worlds, growing up younger with just my mom being there to be my primary caregiver. And then later on in life, having a two-parent household. But it's just so many, and not only for the child, but for the parent as well. I think that honestly, it's a two-person job, like however you slice it. So for me, if there's anything that I can do under my control, then yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I mean, this has been such a great conversation. I've had a blast. I don't know about you.
so good?
Yeah,
Good.
This was great. Hey, we really appreciate you guys coming on. Is there any closing, remarks you'd like to let the people know? Plug your businesses again. Anything you're working on? We'll go with Lisa first, I guess.
Oh, okay. I think that's I already did. I just want to say thanks so much for having me. I've had a great time. I'm so happy to meet Kishanda and just talk. It's been really fun.
Awesome. Yeah.
So Lisa, where can everyone find you? What are some websites or whatever for your businesses or your own personal brand?
Yeah, if you want to buy ID accessories for work, Bougie Beads, BOOJEE beads.com. We had bougie before bougie was a thing, so I'm just saying. And then Bondy World, bondyworld.com. You can check out our gift boxes, and we can create something custom for any clients, businesses, employees, and we'd be excited to do it.
Love that. And just Lisa, before we let you go, what any words of encouragement for any women, any young girls listening that want to start a business?
I would do your homework. Do your homework is an important thing. You know, it's not for the faint of heart. So I think it's hard. So be prepared that it's going to be hard. But I think you know, don't let fear hold you back. Fear's a nasty thing. So it's not nasty. I guess it's good and bad. But don't let fear hold you back because you're capable. It just is a lot of work. And it's worth it. I think the control that I have over my life because I have my own business has been worth the journey and all the hard times. So it's worth it. And but I guess my biggest tip would be resources. That don't be afraid to ask. Ask anybody and everybody everything because it's the only way to learn. And there's a lot of people out there willing to help and willing to just give you information that's critical. So that'd be my biggest tip.
That's awesome. Yeah. Thank you so much, Lisa. And Kishanda, where can people find you?
Yes, absolutely. So right now you can find me primarily on Instagram. And that would be at Kizabella, KIZZABELLA. Also, I do have an art page also on Instagram. It is called The Art Effect. Let me see if there are any underscores in there. But honestly, guys, the main page is gonna be the at Kizabella, but it's at The Art _ Effect EFFECT.
Awesome. And then, what, words of encouragement can you leave, anyone listening, especially women who are, want to take that leap of faith and maybe join the corporate world and succeed?
Yeah, don't let anyone tell you no and that you can't, really. I think that's a theme that we got today from myself and from Lisa is, if you really actually set your mind to something, put in the work, do your research, do what you got to do. And if it's making sense, if the math is mathing, go for it. You got to believe in yourself. So believe in yourself and be yourself. That's basically what I've got to leave the people.
I love that. That is awesome. And Rizzo, where can they find you, man?
Rizzo Feels on Instagram.
Yeah, I'm Judah Clan on Instagram.
And we're side by side.
Until next week.
Until next time. We'll see
you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Lisa.
You too.